Hey YouTube, so I have been looking for a video on how the Cummins head flows and I really couldn't find one, so I decided to make one after learning exactly how it flows. So anything after this line right here, any outlet around, that's positive pressure. After the water pump, that's pressure. And anything after this right here, that is a little bit less pressure, but when that thermostat opens, it's still pressure. But this is the way the engine likes to flow coolant. So that being said, that's the way it goes. So now the cylinder block doesn't have anything that tells it how to flow that way, this way, nothing, literally nothing. It just expands that way and it comes. But the way it wants to flow is due to the design of the head gasket. Now on the engine you might see that the holes that go right here are bigger, because this hole right here, that's as big as the engine block has it and as big as the head has it. But what really limits everything is the head gasket. Now you might see these, this is the front of the gasket, and I could tell this from a 5.3 liter engine, but this is where it goes in again. Now the head flows that way, and you see these bigger holes right here, that promotes the flow because it can't really exit this way, but it can exit faster through this. So after that, it comes through the head and it returns to the water pump to go through the block to the radiator and flow pretty good. Now the Cummins is the same thing. It does the same thing, but the reason that the number 6 cylinder heats up so fast is because, as you can see, this one has on two sides, it has this, but on the Cummins it has one of these as small as that, if not smaller, right here. It doesn't have these, it only has a bigger port right here. What you want to do on the Cummins 12 valve is drill that hole twice the size. That way it can flow a little more right here, and that's going to be the same thing as the coolant bypass. Now I didn't do that thing when I had installed the new head gasket, but I did something else, another approach that works pretty good. Now you want to take 3/4 NPT to 6AN line, take out the temperature sensor, and run this 6AN line around 4 feet into this 1/4 NPT to 6AN. Now you can't really get bigger than that. That's why I really chose 6AN line, because you don't really want it to bypass all the time. The fleece has a thermostat that whenever it gets hot it starts flowing, but it's not flowing all the time. So with that being said, we don't really want that to go on all the time. That's why 3/8 hose for 6AN line is perfect right here. Now I didn't run this one straight to the back of the head because I do have a water-cooled turbo. So I ran it from the back of the head to the bottom of the turbo, because remember, hot air likes to rise, and so does hot water. So right here, that's cooling off the turbo. I don't know if it heats it up more or cools it down, but it's water cooled, so that's what we're gonna keep. And the line on that original turbo is around the same size as that 6AN line. So just keeping it within spec, I found that this line flows perfectly fine, because I don't have a thermostat that's gonna tell it when to flow or when not to flow. This one's running 100% of the time, and that thing goes right here to right here. Now anything after this, when that thermostat opens, it's still pressurized, but it likes flowing that way. So if you dump it straight over here, you'll go straight into the radiator, cool it down, and then come over here. Now I did put my temperature sensor down there because that's the only spot I could find that would show me the same size 3/4 NPT, and I really didn't want that to return any coolant. I wanted everything that goes through this motor to return to the radiator, and that's how I could achieve 20 degrees colder. Now that sensor is gonna tell your engine, your gauges, that it's 20 degrees colder just because it goes through the radiator and it's already cooled. But that's also why I installed it. I wanted to see how much cooling effect my radiator has, and that way it can tell me, is my radiator efficient enough and cooling down enough. And that's because whatever reading is over there, 180, you're at 200. engine temperature. Anything after right here, it could be like 180, 190, 200, boom. Anything after here, you're at 200.